Hello, this is How to Rhino 3D episode 16, and we will continue with our small building and the surfaces and solids. So last time we started to build a small, very simple building, and that will continue in this episode because I'm thinking the best way to actually learn the software is with a certain goal in mind or with a task. So if you get a task and you don't know how that works yet, then you actually learn the most because then you are forced to actually learn it. I was still try to strict myself to always the next set of tools we are learning, but I'm trying to use all of the tools in the project. So you learn all the tools, but at the same time we build this small project, and we learn how useful some of the tools are. Some of them are not that useful, and some of them are very useful. Okay, let's go. Okay, so last time we kind of stopped here, and what I want to do first before we continue with the solids and the surfaces is actually go just a little bit through some of the functions here in the layers and the materials, and we make it look a bit nicer. So maybe let's start with materials. And another thing I want to discuss is options. So options in terms of progress in your modeling. Sometimes, okay, what you can do, if you go here on save, you can actually, there are different ways to save your project. One is incremental save. So if I use that in incremental save, then it saved my file called villa with the extension 001. And then I could continue working and then again save incremental, and it saves it as 002. That's a way to do it. But what if you want to keep your progress within the file? That's also possible, especially with smaller iterations. That's actually very useful to keep it within the file. And one way would be to organize your layers in a way that you can copy all the layers you're currently working on as a group. So here at the moment we have this very typical, as it is, for example, in AutoCAD, where you have just a list of layers and there's no really a way to group them together. In Rhino you can group layers together, and it's actually very simple. So I could for example create a new layer called option 1 or version 01. So creating new layers is with this one, or with right click. You can I use right click most of it, and then you can just select all the layers we worked in and copy them here. Now let's check what's in the other layers. First, we unhide everything. Okay, so we had some lines here. So let's check what's in detail. If I right click on the default, I can actually I can do stuff. So I can, for example, select the objects, and I see, okay, there's a lot of stuff. So I would maybe make another folder and say these are construction lines. And you can also check what was selected. So for example, if I select everything, then it tells me, oh, it's 59 curves, 2 polysurfaces, 8 extrusions was added to selection. Now, if I just go here and select objects, okay, sorry, in default, select objects, it only selected curves. So I know, okay, these are only curves. I can put them in the construction line layer. I can put them here, and if I want to give them another color. So I have these in red, and in this mode, the artistic view, and also in the Arctic view, and I think also in the render view, there is an automatic ground plane depending on where so the lowest object will determine the position of your ground plane, but only with these solids or surfaces, not with the lines. The lines, they don't affect the ground plane. So I can turn this off. I turn off all my construction lines, and then I have walls. Let's check walls. Okay, yeah, it seems like everything is there. I have floors. These are all my floors. If I want to see that only these. I have the paving exterior, which is all these. It seems like there are other. Let's check that. 5 curves, 3 extrusion. So there are actually curves in there. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select all curves which are currently not in the construction lines. The construction line layer is turned off, so I can actually use the select function, select curves, and Now it's selected only the curves within all the visual layers, all the layers which are turned on, and I can change objects to the layer construction. So I can go here, right click, even though it's turned off, I can actually put things in there, and I can say change object layers, and now all the lines are in that layer. Okay, and then we have, let's check again we can also do it in this way. Let's check what's in here. One more thing. So for example, now I have layers where there are things in there inside, and then I have other layers where there's nothing. I want to keep the default layer, so I will lock it, but then with all the others, and I will also lock the version 1 because we just created that. But with all the others, I want to purge layers which are empty, because at the moment we only have walls, floors, and exterior paving. Yeah, I counted these 2 floors, as you can see here. When I click on that, I can actually look here and see where that is. I'm getting sidetracked here, so wait. Now, what I can do is I can actually purge stuff. I can purge empty layers, for example. If I go now purge, and they ask me what do you want to purge. Block definitions, if they are not in here, yes. Annotation styles, no. Groups, yes. Hatch patterns, yes. If they're not used, layers, yes. So we want to purge layers, and then we can just enter. And now, oh, let's try it again. Purge layers. Oh yeah, it also kills the one. Yeah, it kills the one which are empty. Okay, what we can do is we can just create a stupid line here, and we can copy objects into layers. That's also possible. So I can say change object layer, so that then I would move that what I had in default into the version 1, or I can just copy an object. Copy object to layer. That's also possible. So now I have this object twice in the default layer and in the version 1 layer. Okay, so now I can, if I go purge, it kills all the layers which were empty. They are all gone now. And we can, of course, delete that curve here. We don't need that. But I want to keep the default in version 1. Version 1 is going to be my group layer, so that's going to be another group. So what I can do now, I can actually take all these and put them into the version 1. I can just drag it with the mouse into version 1. Now version 1 is basically a parent layer, or these layers are all inside that layer. I can also copy a whole layer system. So I can actually copy this and duplicate layer and objects. So again, right click, duplicate layer and objects. Here's this. You can also create sub layers. If you need more layers in here, you can actually do sub layer or new layer, new sub layer. New layer creates a new layer outside this group, and new sub layer creates a layer inside that group. And we might need that, but actually not now, we need it later. So, but what I can also do is duplicate layer and objects. The layer version 01 contains sublayers. Do you want to duplicate sublayers? Yes, I want to duplicate all the sublayers. Okay, and then I can ask me to rename it, and I can call it version 2. So this is going to be my active layer. Wherever this the tick mark, then this is the layer which is active. Version 2 is active now, and I can hide this, and I even can lock it if I. But in that way, I can always go back and see. For example, if I made a mistake in a very complex model, and suddenly my computer or the program starts to make problems and crashes, then I can always go back and go back to the version before. That could be in addition to the incremental saving. I could now again save incremental save. Now it saved this as Villa 002. That's also possible. And then if I work now, I could then save that over it, because we haven't done so much yet. Let's start from here. We fixed our versions. We have the version 2 now. And then, so we continue working in that version. And what I want to do, I want to give it some material, just some basic material. So here you can see you have, let's go into rendered viewport. Yes, we are in the rendered viewport. It depends always on how you set up your rendered settings. What I'm trying to do here is to have my lines with one single color for all lines. I like that better. Oh yeah, and also the render settings, objects, surfaces. Here also I want to use single color for all edges and not the object's color. Object color would look like this, and I'm not a big fan of it. So go back here, surfaces, use single color for all faces, and this is black. And you can also change the thickness if you want, but I like it with the 1 pixel thickness, that's fine. Let's, for example, give some materials on that. There is color and there's material. Color affects the color of in the viewport, the shaded viewport. That will actually show the colors as we have it here. And of course I can change that, and I don't like this purple here. Maybe let's choose something else, something more representative. And then the roof should be, maybe that's gonna be a different color. Actually I will add another layer because I feel like there is roof and there is floor. So I'll add 4 roof. And actually here this is roof and floor, so we'll see what we can do later. I'm gonna change that here, and then I give this a different color. Maybe it's a green roof. And the walls have their own color and the floors have their own color. Maybe they are wood floors. At the moment we can see the floor outside, but let's don't worry about that for now. So at the moment this is wrong because that's continuous outside, but we'll fix that. So these are colors. Materials they affect the rendered viewport and also the ray trace viewport. Materials, you can go in here and it has a default material. This is not a V-Ray tutorial, by the way. We can talk about V-Ray another time. Actually, the new or updated render engine based on the Cycles render engine from Blender, I think so, is pretty powerful, so we can do a lot with it. So we don't need to buy V-Ray at that point. Floors, okay, let's give it a very simple material. I put here and go on custom material. Or let's see what's in here. So we have double-sided emission metal paint, physically based. Let's try that. That seems like more realistic kind of. Oh yeah, you can this is quite cool. So you can custom, this is like the typical setup for materials in Rhino. There's also physical based, which is more based on how a material reacts with the light in real life. Well, let's try that. Why not? So we can assign a texture. Let's find a very simple texture. Marble. There's some detail settings. We can look at that later. But now I gave it a certain material. Now if I go into my render viewport, I'm gonna see that this was already applied. That surface would be very expensive because it's like one big piece of marble. That doesn't work. But if we want to tile it or make it smaller, so we can do that by creating a texture map. So we select this here, and then we go on the properties of the object, then we go to the texture mapping. And here we can apply a very simple box mapping, for example. So for now, that should be fine. So let's say this, so this is basically you as if you create a box, and you can also use the 3-point function here depending on the orientation. I will do that. So I use P and then let's say 3 meter, 3 by 3 by 3. And now it looks like this. We will talk about seamless textures at some point. But for now, I think that's fine. And here you can actually see where the position is. So where does this start? With that you can be more specific. Now it rotated also. Don't know why exactly. Seems like it rotated towards the real world coordinates. That could be. You can actually change that if you want. And we could set all these. You can select a point if you want to have it starting exactly here. That actually refers to the center of the texture, or we can put it to 0. That's also possible, and you can change the size if you want. Actually, this is a long texture. You could then take that into account if you want. You could actually make this, let's say 8. I'm not sure if that's correct. It's just an example. I think that's more accurate. Okay, exterior paving. Let's turn these things on again. Can select all. Just go to this material here. Another thing you need to make sure, if you import objects, sometimes they have the material applied to the object itself and not to the layer. So there's different ways. So either you apply the material to a layer or you apply it to an object. And you can see that in the properties. So if I go here on material, then it says use layer material. But it could be also, you can also choose a material just for that specific object. So you could have like a layer where you have 10 objects and they all have different material. That's also possible. And then that overrides also the material of the layer. So sometimes when you think, oh, I applied my layer on that, I applied my material on that layer, but that object still looks different, then you know where to look for. Then you need to look at the properties and into the layers, into the material of that object. So I do the same here. Let's just use the custom setting. No, let's do the physical. I like that. I haven't tried that before. So add assign texture. I have here another texture, paving. We're gonna get the albedo. That's the normal texture, the material color. Roughness, okay, we can apply a roughness. Okay, we can add here the bump map. I see. So we can actually choose what you want to add. So subsurface specularity, we can add that. We can add this. If we have a texture for it, then we can assign all these. That's pretty cool. I didn't know. So roughness, assign a texture. So we have a roughness texture. This one, yeah. So that's in here. And we have a bump map. We also have displacement map, but let's keep it simple for now. Let's the normal map. That should be fine. Okay, and now we have quite nice slate material. And then now we have the same problem. We need to actually give it a mapping, because now it just places it on the surface. You see it's here smaller, bigger. So we can just go here, select all the three objects, or let's do it like this. So we apply it here once. Again, I draw this box, P, 3 by 3, by 3. Looks a bit small. I mean, it looks a bit scaled, but actually I think it's fine. I think that's perfect. Let's check how big one of these tiles are. Yeah, this is actually, it's too big. So I guess it would be, in reality, it would be like this. Nah, a bit small. That's a bit small. Maybe double size. And now, how do we get the same onto the other surfaces? So you don't need to do the same here. You just match mapping. Match mapping. And now I select source image, source object, and I select this and then press enter. And then I have the same mapping applied to this one. Pretty neat. Now I can change these. So this is all my walls. Let's do the same here. Assign texture, concrete, roughness. What else do I have here? Displacement, normal map, roughness. That's what I have. Okay. We can play with that another time. Okay. Now this looks a bit interesting. Again, here the same. We can select all the wall objects and apply our mapping again. And we could also try to match the mapping. So match mapping, that looks a bit small, but I think it's fine for now. And then maybe we use the same texture for the roof, okay? So just go in here and then we can actually select. What I should also do, of course, it's giving them names. So it's easier later to find them. And we can also match the mapping. I'm not sure about this mapping. Maybe let's add some green. So now we can add, oh yeah, now I made a mistake. I didn't put it into the group. So I can actually take that and just drag it into the group. If you want to move something out of the group, you can use this. Move up one parent, you can actually get it out again. Now let's make this green here. And now we just add some surfaces here. Okay. Again, we can use either this one. That's a way to do. And now let's just add a material as well. So I have only this one at the moment, but yeah, it should be fine. We have some grass. We're gonna do the same again. Match mapping. Let's see. I think that's okay. And then I'm gonna use a different one. I use this one. So if I want to use this tool, then I need to have actually a line drawing here. Or I can actually use the edges of the surface. That's also possible. If you don't want to draw all the lines here, you could do this. You draw one line. I mean, this is very lazy, but yeah, you draw one line and join edges. So if you do this, you actually extract the edge as a line, and here says it's not, these are not, that doesn't work. So I need to, yeah, this one works. It actually extracts the edge of the surface to use to connect to the line. So that works. And then I could do this match mapping. I will also use this one now. Now I will use this one to actually create the green in here, but I will modulate it a bit. So a surface from networks, that works in the way that you create a network of curves, as it says, but they need to be organized in a certain way. So you need to have one line on one side, but let's say I want to have this a bit higher. I want to have the back higher. Push it up, let's say 0.5, and this now goes to here, but I don't want to have it straight. I don't want to have a straight slope going down. That's weird. I don't want to have this slope going down. I want to have a curve here. So we could do this. I can start from here. I select this. I'm not selecting it. I just snap here. I use my tab to fixate that direction. I turn on auto. And then now, no, sorry, I need to go in here. This one, curve of control points. So again, here, then I will snap here, and then I press tab to fixate that direction. And I can actually now place a point here, and then I'm gonna end it here. So for example, like this. So I don't need this one. So I have now this curve, this one, and that one. But then here it actually should come down. So what I could do is I could actually do this. And then I still have the option to actually change this a bit. So it's not a complete, it's a bit a more natural kind of surface like this. And then we have this line and this line. They are fine. So now I have this kind of a network. I could actually use this now and could use these 4 curves to actually use this tool, which is a surface from 2 to 3 to 4 curves, edge curves. They don't need to be planar. They can be any shape, but they need to be connected, or they should be connected at least. So if I do this, then I can ask me to choose them. I would choose them in an order, the correct order, and then it creates me this. Now if you want to control the surface inside a bit more, so you want to actually create a bit more modulation, or you want to have a different kind of shape here in the middle, so you don't want to have this similar curve as this one, but a kind of different shape, then the surface from network is very useful. So let's go back. We could draw a line here in the middle, like this, and we can draw a vertical line here, either up and down, and with that we could control now, create another curve, another shape, which is also connected to the opposite curves here, and I can of course change that even more if I want. And to finalize that, you would need to then take the curve from interpolation points to connect to all these lines in the center, in the middle. So we go here, middle, and then mid. And of course that could be also, you could also modulate, but then you need to be careful that this is still connected. Now I can use the surface from network curves, and you need to now, it says no auto sort. You can go here, and it asks me to, if I click here, it doesn't auto sort it. So it asks me to choose the curves in the certain direction. So first direction is this one, 1, 2, 3, and then I press, and it asks me to search this in the second direction, to select second direction, this one, and that will create me this surface. Cool, no? Okay, let's put that here. I take all the curves again and change it to here. Don't need it anymore. So next, here is a loft tool. I don't have anything for the loft at the moment. We can get back to that later. We looked at this tool before, creating a first version of that surface. And patch, we could actually look into the patch. So patching is also very powerful. You could, so if we go, for example, here in wire, if I open my construction lines again, I have these contour lines here. So I drew some contour lines in the past. If we go in shaded viewport, then we can actually see it. This we don't need. This we don't need. Let's get rid of that. There might be another path. We can draw that later. So I drew these contour lines here, and we can actually make them a bit bigger to connect them. We need to go here and say project, no, planar. We're gonna use this, and then it will draw a planar, draw the curve in the same plane as your start point. So let's go in top view.
This will be more like a temporary solution. We'll do a more nicer.
Okay. Span. Let's give it a bit more. 50. 50. Automatic trim, yes. And that should work. Now we have this surface, and we can actually put it into here. And let's select all the lines, put it back here, close that. And then, because we don't want to see these contour lines, the ISO curves, we can go in here, properties, and show ISO curves, turn off. And we can place this into the grass folder. Is it already? Yes. And then if we go to render viewport, let's also go into here. Let's turn everything on. Can pull it a bit down, just a bit, and we match mapping. Match mapping. Actually, it's already mapped, but it seems like it's not updating. Let's incremental save it, then let's see what happens. incremental save. Yeah, so I tried to actually add the same mapping here, but it doesn't let me. It's although the mapping is applied already, it seems like it only works on flat surfaces. So I will change that also to box surfacing. So I will match mapping and use this one. So it's actually a box. The mapping is like a box, and I will just grab all these and match mapping, and that works. Now let's add a bit of more. Let's make it a bit nicer in the viewport. Let's go on here on environment, and we change the background image to another HDRI image. So here I have some really nice HDRI images which I can use. Can I select these? If you don't know what they are, just maybe search for HDRI images. I can explain that in another tutorial. It's a big image. So this basically, I use that to get like the skylight here. Of course you can always, okay, you cannot crank that up, make that lighter. But what we're gonna do, what else we're gonna do, we actually add the sunlight. So we turn sunlight on, and it gives us some shadows. For now, we can put this on manual, so we can actually, manual control, so we can actually change the direction. And I feel like it's a bit, this tiling here is a bit too small, so I changed that as well and make it a bit bigger. Let's say maybe 10, so it looks a bit more, it looks a bit nicer. And we can play a bit with the intensity here, maybe a bit more. Intensity of my skylight, the sunlight, sorry. And here we're gonna check, set this global environment. So we also have a bit of a background. So now the image, the HDRI image is basically in the background. Then we also need to check here the original projection, environmental map. Doesn't change anything, I think, I hope. It's very slow. Let's save that, incremental save. This is more like a graphic layer and texture kind of tutorial, but yeah, why not? Let's add a tree. I have a tree somewhere here. Projects, real tree. Okay, let's go back to rendered viewport. Almost the same. Okay, we have a tree, the mesh model of a tree, and this change this material here. Let's create another layer, planting. So 6, planting, tree, trunk, and leaves. I can put the tree if you want. I can put it into the show notes. I change that here, and then I grab all the leaves. No, wait. There's some weird extra bits I don't like. See, if you see closely here, there's like some extra mesh. Let's see. This one. I'm not sure what that is. I don't need that. Okay, let's grab these. Also group them. So they're all grouped. And this, okay, this is in here. Physical based material. I like that. Base color, assign texture, detail settings, subsurface specularity. Let's try, I think maybe we have that. Sheen, clear coat, opacity, bump map, ambient occlusion. Actually, there's an ambient occlusion, I know. So roughness is this one. So we have displacement, ambient occlusion, and normal. Okay, no specularity. Bump map and ambient occlusion. Not sure if we need that really. I don't like ambient occlusion that much. Sometimes it looks fake. Okay, I think that's fine. Now you can see that although it's in here, it didn't take on the material. So let's check in the material tab. Now, okay, we changed that. And then the leaves, we also changed the material. Let's change this. I think here we just changed. Oh, let's go here. So, okay, that means, yeah, leaves. And then we do also the physical base material, base color. I don't have a texture for the leaves at the moment, so we just use a color. Let's try to be realistic. That could work. A bit shiny, a bit opacity maybe. And then all these need to be, of course, need to select the material, right? So that need to be saved, need to be selected. That's a bit too shiny. That's almost too similar to the tree, to the grass. Let's make this a bit more darker and a bit more brown. Okay. We can group this as well. Yeah. Okay, I think we leave it for today. Turned out to be more like a rendering or like material setup tutorial. But yeah, it's also important. See you next time.